Okay, so you can see my slides.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so all right. So the very first thing I would like to talk about is the strategies of how to maximize in view of the meager fund and the time. And these are four questions which have time and again haunted me. And I will just share my experience of how I go through it. Firstly, I think the choice of conference, that the appropriate conference for me. And what is the answer to that? I think because these days we are bombarded with so many conferences. So whether that particular conference really, deserves my time and energy, because going to a conference is not easy. And also, somebody who, if you really want to get the maximum from a conference, you have to be very prepared. You otherwise you just go present a paper, some people ask you questions and you are gone, so you cannot maximize your networking, which I used to consider a terrible word at one point of time in my life, which now of course I have gone through a massive shift. So when I talk about the appropriate conference for me being a political science person with a background on gender, I have always, like, since my student days, focused on two major conferences. One is IPSA and the other is APSA, the International Political Science Association and the American Political Science Association. Now, these two conferences, even when people have told me that it's a big mail out there are 1,500, 3,000 people around, most of the conferences, until and unless they are very small invited conferences, are like that. So why IPSA and APSA? They are the oldest associations in the world, and they are internationally very renowned. Most of the big names in political science will be participating in the American or the International Political Science Association. And IPSA, APSA, they are also a cohort. So if you take a membership of one organization, you are given option of joining the other regional level political science associations. So that is how I think one should think about a conference. Apart from this appropriateness of the conference, there are also smaller conferences like Political Science Association, International Studies Association. And also at times I look at conferences which will be, even if they are international, they will be in India. Okay, so that for my travel and other logistics, which will be helpful. So that is the very first question I think all of us should ask, that the appropriateness of the conference. Then the second thing is, at what stage of research am I? And here I would I would say that not only students but as researchers, we are working on something, or some of us may not be immediately working on something, in the sense of we don't have a paper written, or but we all have an idea of what we are interested in. So please bring that on. Ask yourself that what is the stage am I in? Means, is it just an idea in my head which I'm interested in working? So for example, if I'll just share my experience with you. So 3 years back, I just got very interested, during a workshop. People were talking on polycrisis. They kept on talking about polycrisis, that there is so much of crisis. The World Bank is doing this. You have pollution, you have gender, there is war going on, racism. And sitting there, and I was getting very, very impatient that so many scholars of global north coming up one after the other, very, very good scholars, talking about polycrisis, and suddenly something just came on me, and I just started talking about what I had just thought of in that workshop. And it is something which I have just published last month, known as polysectionality. So that is like, it's an idea. So you have an idea. Now it's good to have an idea, but then from the idea, it took me about 2.5 years to come to a complete paper. Now I'm not saying, probably because I work at multiple levels, so maybe I'm a little bit slow, but have that have a very honest answer, that what is the stage. I would say that if you have an idea and you have already decided on a conference, the next stage is about thinking of what I do is to compose certain bullet points. right? So 2, 3 bullet points I always write. I will just tell you how I do it. And I also, teach my doctoral students how to do it because it's an ocean out there. Even if you say India and gender is too vague. Why? And remember that you are putting your time and energy. You want your paper to be selected, you want your abstract to be selected. You are not applying to a conference to get a rejection. So don't have such vague things. Ask yourself and keep on asking yourself, okay, in India, okay, about gender, what in gender? Because gender, again, is it women, or it is non-binaries, LGBTQIA, or is it about men, or is it about queer politics? What exactly am I in gender, am I interested, which particular group am I targeting? Or because you have to break it down like that. Then the second thing is, in gender, is it on electoral politics? Is it on, let's say, women issues like women representation in parliament, or their reservation in India, like we have been debating this, or women in academia, their issues of recruitment, empowerment? What is the particular conceptual issue that you want to deal with? Health, whatever, ageism, anything, being a single woman, whatever, what are we dealing with? Pregnancy, maternity, whatever it is in your mind, come to that issue. And then ask yourself that, okay, now this is like in gender in India, now I want to work on, let's say, a particular women's group. Which women? Is it a reserved category, SC, ST, indigenous women? What? Please keep on asking this, because this is something I keep on doing even when I'm sleeping. Okay, what? Because that way, then my focus is very, very sharp. I'm not writing a book. This is a conference where I will be given only 15 minutes at the max to present my findings, right? So that this particular stage of research which I am in is a very important thing for me. It has worked. It has also worked for lots of my students. And ask yourself, do a little bit of it. What I start with doing is, put some keywords. You already have something, put some keywords, start reading exactly how we do a research, do a literature review, right? And like if you have questions, I can come back and tell you how to do it. The third question is, you are an individual, so you want to present an individual paper, or do you have a group of like-minded colleagues or students with whom you can actually club together and propose a panel? Now that's important, but at the same time, I also know that in my earlier experiences, I used to be always sending an individual paper, simply because I would not know. One is, I would be very hesitant reaching out to people, and the second is also, I would not know whom to reach out to. So I would just give up, and I say, okay, let me just put a individual paper, and then the conveners of the research panels, or they will actually put me into a nearest panel, whichever is wherever I can be accommodated in accordance with my individual paper. So this is another very important thing about individual paper versus panel. Now for IPSA specifically, please check linkit.in. I have been doing that. Also IPSA website. A lot of RCs, just nearing the, before the deadline of the panel proposal, they put up a lot of calls that, okay, please send, this is a call for paper, this is a call for paper. And, for that way, at least, your paper is not lost. You have somewhere tentative thing, okay, gender, India, women, fine. So you can go to RC07, and there is a list of panels which are actually calling for individual papers. So you can, submit your individual paper there. For panel, I would say that if you have never gone to never been to a conference, it becomes a little bit difficult. But otherwise, if you have students and other people whom are interested, and then you can, of course, form a panel together. But a good way of doing it is, if the panel is not only from your university or your region or your location, if you have friends outside your city, and they are interested, so bring them on. The fourth question is about cost. One of the most important questions, I think. So cost, because Here you have, if you are an early career researcher, travel grants are mostly for them and not for anyone. Early career is like postdoc. So that means you have just submitted your PhD 3 years back or 3 to 7 years. There are also certain conferences which give funding, and they give a preference for Global South participants. So have that thought in mind. But remember that travel grants are also given on the basis of merit. So, how good your abstract is. And also, whether you want to, if there is an option of a virtual or versus a physical mode of presentation, would you like to do a virtual? Because, giving with all the logistics of a visa, of accommodation, of, all the money that will be involved. If you can't do that, probably a virtual option is always best, because anyway you might not be able to gain all that of networking and meeting and moving around, but at the same time you will be at least presenting in a group of people, with a group of people who are really like-minded, who will be interested in the research that you are doing. Okay, so the next one is that there are no shortcuts. Okay, so write a crisp but thorough abstract. Now you might think write and crisp and a thorough are very, very paradoxical, right? How to write a crisp but a thorough abstract. So this is exactly what I do when I write myself, that what I want to do. Okay, so like I said, you have an idea, you have read something on it. Now, you narrow it down and ask yourself, what do I want to do? And, why is it significant that what I am doing is significant? Where is my research or my research intervention located? For that, all these three questions, you really need to know more literature on the on the field, or on the on the topic, or on the subject matter that you are working on. And that's why your research questions become very, very important. The fourth one is the methodology. In your abstract, which is basically at times 250 to 300 words for most conferences, unless a conference asks you for a detailed long abstract. Long abstracts run into 800 to 1,000 words, but very few conferences actually ask for a long abstract. It has, like, some of the smaller ones, like, like for example, like I remember 2 years back, it was an Oxford University conference where they have asked for long abstracts because it was an invited conference. Although I don't know why an conference, if it is invited, it's more like a seminar and not a conference. But anyway, so long elaborated abstracts are mostly not needed. Remember that the person who's going to read the abstract must be reading hundreds of them, and so you have to attract that person's attention. So have a catchy title. Talk about, don't give very vague kind of answers or a vague title. Just something very rosy, but it might not be making any sense. And in within the abstract, write one sentence at least, and please don't write quantitative and qualitative research. What is qualitative, what is quantitative? And I get very, very angry at times at anyone who says mixed research. Oh, every research is mixed, man. So are you going to do content analysis? Are you going to do discourse analysis? Are you going to do in-depth survey? Are you going to write have questionnaires or focus group? What exactly in quantitative are you doing? Please let me know. What is your methodology? I think if one comes writes it very, very simply but very blatantly in that abstract, it is helpful for the person who is actually shortlisting, that your abstract gets shortlisted. And the final one is findings and observations. You might not have, our research is not to break the world and come up with something like great research and great findings. It is about observations. It is about making a start. And that's why I use the word intervention. Having an intervention, it's a noble intervention, it's a novel framework. You cannot have big claims, and that is what my next slide is about. Keep claims smaller. Please don't say I will change everything. It's it's one of the signs I always tell my MA students when they say, okay, my research is about changing everything. It will change the. It's not. It's not, right? So do not make big claims. Keep it very simple. That this is exactly what I want to do, And this is the research question, and this is what I'm trying to probe. Please do not come up. I know that we all are humans and we are very, very subjective. So we cannot be fully objective. But don't be so value laden as to a lot of abstracts already talk about that, you can actually see the prejudices within the abstract. So, minimize your prejudices. You are probing, you are investigating, you already do not have the answers. You are trying to find some kind of plausible alternatives, those kind of words, rather than, I have this, this is the way we can change the world. That is a big claim. You won't be able to suffice with your factual justification. The second is state how your paper is related to the conference discipline and the title. So if it's we are talking about IPSA. So IPSA conference every year, year, when we have every 2 years, we have the conference, the annual conference, there is a title of the conference, right? On like democracy, polarization in the world, technological innovation, precarity. It can be something like that. So try to deal with it that okay, this is what I am, this is the conference title. So this time the conference will be mostly focused on this particular issue, or on this is one of the most important topics or agenda. And with those keywords, please play a little bit with those keywords so that in your title of the abstract, your paper title, you have it. The third is, in case of an individual paper, you need to give greater details, greater attention to detail, because when you have a panel, in my experience, the probability of being selected is higher for a panel, because the RC knows that okay, you will not be able, you have a chair, you have a discussant, it's a full-fledged thing. So the logistically we just need to keep you, we have to give you a room and things like that. Everything else you have already done your homework. But in case of an individual paper, it always takes more effort, because you are an individual paper. So the RC has to at times just come together with 4 individual papers, club it together into a panel. So please pay more attention, keep your typos, don't just think that okay, I have done it now, just let me send it. It doesn't work like that. Somebody out there is going to read it, and everything is still, now we don't put everything to AI, right? So don't make silly mistakes. It gives a very, very bad impression for a researcher. And the final one is, in case of a panel, reach out to the panel in need of papers, which I already mentioned. Call for papers in panels, right? So these are some of the strategies which I take. So I'll just, stop my sharing, and any questions I'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll hold questions for the end because there are 2 of us bursting with things to say. So thank you, Papia, and I will... Oops, where has my PPT gone? Luckily for you. Where is it? There. Now, you would think that teaching in this day and age, I would be swift with PPT sharing, but I'm so often on the hosting side that I forget what I'm supposed to do when I'm presenting. And I have not managed to share, have I?
There it is, yes. We can see
You
it.
see it?
Yes.
Okay, I don't for some reason, but never mind. I'm happy if you do. Okay. So my fundamental question, last year for the Seoul conference, I went through all of the proposals myself, and I will be doing it for the coming thing, just referring a few things here and there to others. So these are really some of my reflections based on looking at proposals. So the 4 questions I want to quickly answer: how do you put a panel or proposal together? What makes something a good proposal? What do selectors look for, and what are some red flags that you should know? First of all, as Papia just said, decide why you are putting the panel together. If you're putting a panel together, is it to share your work and anchor a discussion around your interest? Are you the star of the panel? Is your research the star? Then you start with that very specific work, write your panel description around it, and then find people that will work. Maybe what would be lovely is a cross-regional panel or multiple levels of analysis or something interesting like that. 5 people writing on women and elections in 2014 in India, not as compelling. Okay, just being very blunt. If it is to explore a common area of interest, you're interested in getting into AI and gender violence, so you'd like to find a few people and have a starting conversation and maybe build a research network for yourself, write your proposal around that. Be very clear. Name it clearly, and poetic titles are lovely, but if I have to think very hard as a selector about what is this about, I'm not going to be very happy. So manage to balance. If you must have poetry, balance the poetry with the plain, okay? Don't make it obscure. Never, in any form of writing, make the reader work harder than the writer. Write a description that maps what the papers will discuss. If it's an open panel, you need to describe it clearly and openly so paper givers can say, oh, this is what you want. Well, mine doesn't fit. And if it's a closed panel, you need to map something that binds all of the people together. And I think they will need to submit their proposals separately. Diana will remember better. How do you put a paper proposal or an abstract together? You need to decide what you might want to write on specifically. Women in politics in the Horn of Africa, and Papia, thank you for flagging topics like this. They're an open panel title where you want to open the door and let everyone walk in. If you tell me you're going to write an actual paper, then I will know you don't know how to write a paper. You don't know how to select a topic. You have to be specific. Exactly what, exactly when, exactly which women, which level of analysis in politics, what kind of data. Specificity is a marvelous thing. Be clear, what is the paper about? What is the theoretical peg, if there is one? If you're doing certain kinds of research and writing, you will need a very clear theoretical peg. If you're doing an empirical study and you're starting out and you're hoping that your research is going to yield the theoretical peg, there's another way to write about it, but be clear. The word clear will appear many times in my presentation. Let us know, if it's an empirical paper, what are you going to do? Exactly what are you going to do? I want to thank Papia for bringing up mixed methods research. What are those methods? No need to write one paragraph on each of them, but throw some words at me there. There will be, I have done some interviews, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to look at NCRB data. That's good enough. For the abstract, that's good enough. And use your word allowance thoughtfully. Don't spend all of it setting up the stage so that you have no time for the play itself. If you keep telling me in the world, women are very miserable, they have horrible lives, and you're at word 199 out of 200, I know what your paper is going to be like, and I'm not going to select it. Okay? What makes something a good proposal? Clarity, clarity, clarity. Don't make me read your proposal 4 times in case it was my fault. Show me you know the field, but don't again spend your word limit on author date citations. Make it clear to me that you understand the field. And this is why there is a selection process. This is something you learn through practice. So by saying, if nations are an imagined community, okay, I know you read Benedict Anderson, or at least short quotations by Benedict Anderson. You don't need to then give me a summary of his book. Think 50 times whether you're claiming to invent a very old field. And I cannot tell you how many times, how many abstracts appear that say things like, violence is a part of women's lives from the cradle to the grave. Yes, now tell me something new. And then you say you're going to do for one paper 17 different variables or 18 different kinds of violence. This is someone writing an abstract at the last minute saying, let's see, maybe it'll get in. If you're actually working on something and you're excited about it, it will shine through. All of these things will not matter. It will just shine through. And I do want to give you the example of my first proposal, which was really a non-proposal. It was an email. I found out about the IPSA conference in 97 as late as January when everything had closed. But I was extremely excited and passionate about my dissertation topic. And I shot off a letter to this panel organizer saying, I think my work is really important because these people are suffering so much, etc., etc. I got in. My email was accepted as a proposal because clearly, whatever my intellectual deficits, my enthusiasm made it look that indeed I was doing something. It was not a fluffy, last minute topic. So if you're actually working on something and you can talk about it specifically and clearly, it will come through. Please proofread your proposal. If your paper is on associations and association is misspelled over and over again, what will I think? I think anybody, not just me. This is not about me. What do selectors then look for? Again, my favorite word, clarity. Do you seem to know what you are talking about? Genuine research, not a haste. See, lit review papers are good. Discussions of the state of the art are good. But there's a certain, you have to do them with a very deep knowledge of your field. It can't just be reading the first 5 books in a course and then saying what you think, and then saying, I will have insights into the field. That doesn't work. What are you actually working on? And I will say everybody should give this a shot. But if you are the kind of MA student I was, or a first or second year PhD student, you may not be ready to write this kind of proposal. You need to learn to write papers in your semesters for local university submission. Learn how to do this, okay? And then your time will come. Is yours an original take on an old question? Because all the questions are old. Is there something that you are going to add? You are looking at women and elections in Tamil Nadu in 2024. Okay, what are you adding? Is it your methodology? Is it your access to a particular kind of data? Is it your premise? What is it? And, don't make an encyclopedic claim. We are going to discuss in 25 global South countries all of these indices around gender-based violence and cross-match them with livelihoods. You cannot do this between October and June. And from the way you write your abstract, we will know that you wrote the abstract the night before. Okay? And write like yourself. There is no external highfalutin academic voice that is out there. There's only your voice. Write as you think and not as you think you should sound. If you're not sure of the meaning of the word, don't use it. Just write simply, write clearly, write specifically. Okay? And red flags, tall claims. Thank you again, Papia. Also, the smell and sound of AI. If your abstract sounds like you outsourced it to ChatGPT, believe me, it will stink. It will be relegated at best to some sort of, okay, if nobody else comes, we will consider this. But if that is the impression, please do not outsource your thinking. Right. Then if you're doing a state of the nation tirade of some sort, all the people over all of human history that have ever thought about justice are wrong. And in my IPSA Congress paper, I'm going to fix it. Sorry. Also, equally, and I want to say that we get a lot of ideological papers, that make sometimes counterfactual claims. we're not, the status of women has improved enormously since the start of the Sustainable Development Goals. I mean, this just, if I look out of my window, this is not true. So I'm unlikely to take the abstract seriously. Failure to read the instructions uh, on length and so on, so that your title has been cut off partway by the form. Panel description. We are saying we have 6 open panels. We're saying the panel is about this, but you've submitted something else. Or even what the RC is about. If you're submitting a paper to our RC, please remember that you can interpret gender anyway, but gender has to be there. Marginalization has to be somewhere in that politics, right? So please consider where you are, whether there is a fit at all. And if you submit carelessly with lots of spelling mistakes of keywords from your own topic, then it's really hard for us to take the proposal seriously. So that's my little, I guess it's my own tirade. And luckily, nobody can stop me or could stop me from making it. But I just wanted to say everybody should give this a shot. It's not it's not a terribly difficult thing. The conference can be a lot of fun, and at many levels, it can be well worth your energy. But give it just enough thought so that you sound plausible as a researcher, that you're not just some person who saw the Twitter post about the call for papers and decided to have ChatGPT write it just to say the system can be hacked. Every system can be hacked, but do you want to be the hacker? All right, I will hand over to my colleague Diana. Over to you.
Thank you, Swarna. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, are you able to see the slides? Can you see it? Okay, great. So I would like to start off by introducing myself. Oh, I think I'm not on the first slide. Let's see. Okay, here. So I am actually a little bit of an outlier in the group of academics and scholars that usually present in our RC07 webinars. And I'm going to tell you why. My name is Diana Chacón, and I am neither in academia or I'm not a university professor. I don't even have a PhD. As far as I got is my my master's degree, because I am a practitioner and I have been a practitioner for many years. And my actual field of in which I work is financial consumer protection. Nothing similar, or well, I would say not very close to the topics that usually individuals research in the RC07. So you will be wondering, oh, so why are you sitting here? What are you going to present us? So the way how I came to to present or to be present at the latest IPSA Congress was a little bit of a different path. So as my natural curiosity, I have been researching for quite some time independently on feminist foreign policy. So I have been reading different academic articles, books, blogs, etc. So somehow along that research came the RC07 webinars. And I registered for one of those, which happened about maybe February or March of last year, maybe earlier. Anyway, so I think even earlier. So there was still the call for panels at that time. So I participated in one of the webinars, and Swarna was inviting individuals to put together panels and, just incentivizing people to get creative and put themselves out there. So at that time, I didn't even fully understand what a panel was. So, you know, I went again and I researched how do you put a panel together, what a panel in an academic conference entails and everything. And I got really curious of, okay, what about if, would the panel allow me to expand my knowledge that at that time was expanding little by little, but would it allow me to actually be closer to other individuals who are also researching on the topic? So I remember reaching out to Swarna, and there was also some, I posted a question in the webinar if there will be any interest on a panel on decolonizing approaches to feminist foreign policy. And then somebody said, yeah, you know, actually, I'm very interested on the topic. Let's talk offline. So I remember exchanging LinkedIn contact with somebody, and then I reached out to Swarna, and she said, well, why don't you put together a proposal? So that's where my journey started. And then this is my practitioner's experience on convening a panel on decolonizing feminist foreign policy. So how did I arrive to putting together a panel? So basically, I didn't have, first of all, as I already mentioned, I am not an academic. So I don't have the framework of that. And my mental framework could not develop in just a matter of months to just put together a cohesive and full research paper on my own with the time that I had on hand. So when I explored the idea of what would be the benefit of putting together a panel, it was just natural that a panel will be the right choice for me. So a panel actually lets you frame a conversation, not only enter one. So we have already heard from Papia and Swarna how to put together a strong abstract, how to choose your topic for a paper. So, you know, when you have that idea and you have been just researching and just going down the rabbit hole on that idea, that's when you are ready to put together a paper. I wasn't. So I just had a broad notion and different ideas about a subject. So I could not contribute with a very strong argument to an existing conversation. So instead, I thought that it would make sense to create a frame for a broader conversation, to actually set up a place for other individuals who have been researching this for a longer time to convene and just present it in a way in which everybody else can benefit out of. So for me, the panel was a way to put together different cases, different regions, different disciplines into life experiences that speak to one another. So, and you know, that is the richness of a Congress that gives you access to an intellectual community and gives you greater visibility, which I didn't have at that time. I didn't have an academic community. So what was the hardest task putting together a panel? You know, again, take into consideration that you may have some experience. I didn't have any. So for me, it was to make it coherent, to make it make sense, not just by choosing good papers, but to actually have a good line of thought that will follow from paper 1 to paper 4 or paper 5. Not just a bunch of papers that are on a similar topic, but they actually don't speak to one another. And of course, you know, we don't have to, these are papers written by different individuals. So they come from different backgrounds, they come from different lines of thought, etc. But somehow my job was to make sure that those different papers are well aligned. So let me just here, I'm kind of seeing myself in the screen here. Okay, so to define the shared concern clearly and to leave room for distinct arguments. So I actually wanted to make sure that while we were sharing the same topic, we could also argue with one another, disagree with one another, and bring different ideas that perhaps were new for other people. That I could bring an idea that you didn't hear before. You could bring an idea that I didn't even think about it. So the parallel change was to coordinate communication, deadlines, registration, presentation expectations, and changes in circumstances. And I want to stop here because I think this is very important. And I was told by not only by the individuals in my panel, but also by other folks that I met at the conference, that unfortunately in the academic community, there is very little coordination and communication before the Congress. And for me, being a practitioner and being someone who works with financial sector authorities around the world and who has to communicate with policymakers for a living, I don't understand why how we can make it work if there is not enough communication beforehand. So what I did, I actually set for myself a calendar of different times in which I was going to send either a piece of communication, an email, and even meet with the panel beforehand, which we did via Zoom one time before, and even we met before for dinner once we were in Korea. So that really allowed not only to talk among one another. What are you going to present about? Okay, maybe I'm going to pick up on something that you said and I'm going to move it to my panel, to my presentation. But also to feel comfortable. It doesn't have to be tight and restricted, and it can be friendly, and it can be an open conversation that actually allows growth. So then my call for papers turned from curiosity into a collective project. So the first thing that I did, as you will have to do, is circulate a clear call for papers. So for this, I have to say Swarna was very kind, and she reviewed my call for papers, which was as Papia and Swarna have already gone over this, concise, very to the point, very it lined out specifically 3 questions that we were exploring in the paper, and that was it. Then it was assessing the quality of a collective fit. So I received about 8 papers. So they were all good. However, not all of them were either relevant or they would not allow us to keep that train of thought that I have spoken before. Then finally, after we chose the papers, we had 5 remarkable individuals who participated with very rich, very excellent papers. And then we made it happen. So here I want to also stop very quickly. And Swarna, if I'm going over my allocated time, please let me know, because I don't see my watch. So here, one of the challenges is for us as scholars that come from the global South, oftentimes funding are scarce. And if as I said to you, I don't represent, or I don't work, I don't research for a university, so I had to fund my own trip to Korea. So what we did, one of the individuals that got selected to present their paper through her networks, we were able to get in contact with the Isabel Allende Foundation, who were also very generous to provide us a grant for us to travel to Korea. So we distributed the funds among the folks that needed funding, and that's how we made it to Korea. Now, after I'm finished with the presentation, I have some very good news, because I don't want you to get discouraged because there may not be you may not have access to funds right now, but we have been cooking something within the RC07 community. So 6 lessons for building a panel that works. Number 1, start with a question, define the problem, not only the topic, explain in a few sentences why these contributions belong together, curate a collective, choose for individual quality and collective fit. Again, I don't just throw papers that are on the same topic, but don't talk to each other. Help presenters see a shared project, not a sequence of just solos or of just individual papers. Design participation, set expectations and deadline early, please. Be proactive, reach out, make them feel the warmth that you are there, that they're not by themselves, because they're maybe also going to this conference for the first time, and it's good to have the support. Think about funding and accessibility from the beginning. I want to believe that the universe is abundant and there are funds out there. Oftentimes we don't have those funds, but there may be avenues to get to those funds. So we have to get creative on that. And then you do not only ask, what can I present? You also ask what conversation is missing and whom can I bring together to begin it? So that is your main question when you want to put a panel together. What conversation is missing and whom I can bring together to begin with? So especially for those who have, like, say, for example, on a specific topic that you are really interested, but, and you have this big idea that you want to change the world, but as Swarna has already told us, do not put that in a paper, do not put that in an abstract, but perhaps you can take some of those ideas and put them into a panel. Perhaps other people have bits and pieces on how they would change the world, and then you can put a panel together that makes sense. So an intellectual curiosity became a collective project with five remarkable women and a richer conversation that I could have created all by myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. Is there something you would like to add now?
Yes, of course. So after my participation in the IPSA Congress, in the last IPSA Congress, I actually became more involved with RC07. And well, I am the only one without a PhD or without a university affiliation. I am still very interested.
This is not important.
It's not important, but usually these RCs are comprised of people with this such a title. So I'm the outlier, and I'm very proud of being one, because I think I bring the point of difference sometimes. So I'm part of the board of the RC07, and along with Papia and Swarna, we have this what we call a special projects team. So from now and then we think of different things that we can bring to you to our members, and one of the things that is definitely very important and very crucial for folks to make it to the Congress is obviously the financial side. And we understand, because I have been there, I told you that we raised some funds for all the individuals to be able to make it. So this year with Swarna thought, okay, well, what can we do for our community? Let's come up with a fundraising campaign. Let's see how far we can raise and how many people we can support. So those are the good news. We are piloting a fundraising campaign that will be launched soon. More details to follow, and we hope that we will raise a lot of money and we will be able to support a lot of future Congress goers. Of course, we will have there, we will have some different rules, and we will put out there all the steps that you need to take in order to be able to be considered for some financial support.
Thank you. Thank you for your huge part in putting this together. Okay, so the floor is open. We are bursting with experience and what we think is wisdom. So feel free to ask or comment.
Hello.
Just come in.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Okay, this is my name is Swati Nanda, and I teach political science here in DAB Postgraduate College in Varanasi, which is affiliated to BHU. And I'm planning to attend the IPSA meeting this time, conference this time. But this is going to be the first time that I will be going out of the country to attend a conference like this. So I'm a little nervous about it, but I want to attend. Um, yeah. Now, the thing is that I don't know what is the difference between a closed panel and an open panel. And I don't know how to situate myself, um, in these panels, or I really don't know. So if you could
Okay.
help me out
Yeah, I'm
in
happy to
understanding this.
answer. An open panel is essentially where I've done an open panel before when I thought something was a good idea and didn't know anybody. For many, many years, I didn't go to any conferences. So where in the world would I have found four people? So I put the idea out there, and then people wrote in, and I could choose which ones I wanted, and so on. So that's an open panel where you have the idea of a panel. You still need a chair and discussant, but the good news is you can be both for starters. A closed panel is where you say, okay, there are 8 people on this call, and 5 of them do what I do. So together we make up a panel. So I'm the convener and I will chair, and I will also present a paper. And then Papia will do a paper, and Gandhimati will do a paper, and Rohini will do a paper, and Analia will give a cross-regional comparison and commentary as discussant. So that's a closed panel. You've got all your roles filled, and you can do both. The open panel is on the face of it easier because all you need is the idea and 2 roles. But you get very random answers, and ultimately you won't really want those people, but you'll have to make up the numbers. So I would say if you can put your panel was not open in the sense that, Diana, you put the word out there and anybody in the world. You then reached out to specific people, didn't you? No. You before the pan. No, but even before the pan, you already
I only
had
reached to one person. Everyone else just send their proposals.
Was it after the panel went out into the pool? Or
No,
was it
so
through privately circulated?
No. I basically circulated the poster, this announcement on my LinkedIn, and then people forwarded,
Right.
and then
But it was submitted closed. See, we now have about 8.
No, I think it was submitted. No, I think it was submitted open. It was submitted open. Yeah.
So we have 6 or 7 or 8 open panels now. 2 of them or 3 of them are in French, which is the other official language of IPSA. All they are is an idea and and a description. And if you don't want to put a panel together, you can just send your paper into one of them. But you can also do the other way, and the chances of acceptance are better because it will be more coherent. There will be less work for the track chair to do. We don't have to find people from everywhere for the panel. So, and all of us are very happy to talk through that process with you. So I will put the RC address, and if you can send it in, you can if you can write to us, we can write to you.
Okay,
and we can talk.
yeah.
So this is the essential difference. Papia, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to just share that, look, I have been a member of IPSA from 2002 when I was a student. And last year was my first IPSA conference. And Swati, what I also did was it was an open panel. So I knew that, I was very, very, affected by the deep-rooted polarization in our societies. And that was a problem, so what I did was I wrote a paragraph and I proposed a panel, and it was an open panel. So by the time, when you propose a panel, it gets accepted, then, people start sending you their individual abstract. So I did, what I did was I made my daughter the discussant because she's the one I know. She's not a political science person. But I just told her, look, this is the thing, because we both have gone to a protest and we were really, really angry. So she was full of enthusiasm. She becomes the discussant. I was the, proposer. And that was just that. And we got, by the end of it, we had 14 papers. And, I also knew that because although I have been a member of IPSA, the rules and regulations I was not very aware of. So I started going back. You can actually, are you a member, Swati, of IPSA?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So what you can do is
Thank
you can go to your login, and when you log in, there is also a Congress login and there is a normal login. In the normal login, you can just have, there is a set of rules, right? And once now, because the Rome conference has already been announced, you can also see a Congress login. There also, the moment you click it, it will take you to IPSA Rome Conference 2027. Right. And then there are, all these things like, rules for it. So just go through the rules, because in my thing, I just got to know that, yeah, 14 of them, lots of them were from India. But I had one from Bangladesh, one from Pakistan, two from Sri Lanka. And I wanted it to be a regional one and not just India focused, because I know that, in South Asia, India becomes a big brother. So I started selecting. But then I was also, so I selected papers around, out of those 14, I selected around 7. And I was also aware that, not everybody will be able to make it. So if somebody drops, just before they do not register, then, you need a minimum number of participants in the panel, right? For it to be accepted and finally, and you have to give them an assurity that you will be there, like you will be there to do the logistics. So that is how I selected 7. And finally, when I went and presented, we were 4 papers, right? So that is how it was. Now, given, because you are going to go for the first time, I would suggest that ICSSR has funding. I could not get it because I have already got funding from UGC once. And so, as a college teacher, you can, for a university, rules are different. For a college teacher, it's different. I used to teach in a college first, Kirodimal. So college teachers can get it once in 3 years. University teachers cannot. Okay, for
I
university.
wanted to ask you something.
Yeah.
I'm working on interfaith families. My own family is an interfaith family. So I'm working on interfaith families and trying to look at the how they negotiate their secular belongings and all. So this is going to be, I think this is going to be a very critical kind of a topic for ICSSR. So I don't know, can I get funds from ICSSR?
Look,
ICSSR
I would
session?
suggest that, just apply. At the max, what will happen? They will just reject it, right? But you apply. Also, because you're talking about secularism and, interfaith family, you
Yeah.
also have some of my students, I remember last year, they so they were working on different kind of, secularism and regional religious notions of Hindutva. And what they did was they applied for ICSSR, and they also approached, Evangelical Church Foundation of India. So you have to really be very proactive, right? And if you can do it, please, I would suggest ICSSR is not a bad place. Apply. And you are going to be a first timer, right? So you have never got a fund, so why not apply?
No,
Right?
I had a project
Okay.
from ICSSR.
That's good. That's good. That means, you at least, they know that you have a project, and, you are, coming up with certain outcomes. Because ICSSR, the major issue used to be there when I was very regular with it, was that, they used to give a lot of money for projects, but half of the projects would fall. Okay. They would not get any return of it, no publication in a, let's say, a Q1 journal, no impact. People would not even publish things, they would just, even the report used to be delayed by 3 years at times, right? So just do that. I really think that, and also ICCR, because you are talking about interfaith one. So even Cultural Research or Historical Research Foundation, Indian Council of ICHR, ICPR, these are also councils.
I think I'm going to suggest that since this is very India specific, although everybody else in the room is from India except possibly Julie, I'm going to say that, you can also pick this up over email with each other. There is one other question in the chat, and we are a little bit past our closing time. So I do want to address Analia's question, which is about the number of roles that you can play. How many proposals? You can send a number of proposals, but if 2 or 3 are accepted, you need to pick which one you will present. If you have a co-author, that co-author can be the lead presenter on the second one or the third one. So if you're the single author, then you can only present one as the lead person, single author. Each person can be chair in one panel, discussant in one panel, paper giver in one panel. But if you're on a round table, that arithmetic doesn't apply. So you can also be part of a round table, which often, like last time, we had one on inequality in academia. So that was one round table that we organized. Then we had a book round table. So that was the second one. So there are also those other roles that you can play to go along with paper giving. So there are multiple ways to be at IPSA. And I will say, for those of us who need visas, the more roles you play, the more likely you will get a visa to the conference. More likely you will get funding as well. So if you are a first timer, one of the things you should do is to let it be known that you're willing to have the track chair put you wherever you're needed. We bless those people with all our hearts, because nobody wants to do the extra work. So that answers your question, Analia?
Yes, thank you.
I think we can squeeze in one more for 3 minutes and then close. Diana?
Yes, Swarna. I just quickly want to say, if you have not yet subscribed to the RC07 newsletter, please do so. This is just a little piece of advertisement here. Please do so, because we periodically announce either new programs that we're working on, or the fundraising that is coming up that I mentioned earlier, and any other details that may be important for those that are either going to the IPSA Congress, or details on upcoming webinars, etc., etc. So go ahead and register for.
This is technically a link
subscribe
to the RC membership form. You don't have to be a member of IPSA to be a member of the RC. Where your membership of IPSA comes to play is when we elect the new board or new officers to the board. But this will also get you on the mailing list. You can follow us as well on Twitter. We are IPSA RC07, and all of that is also on that website of ours. And we're on LinkedIn. So you'll find us there. Everywhere.
And also previous webinars, which are very interesting and may also answer some of the questions that you have. Last year, and my first webinar I participated, we talked about fundraising for academic travel. So there are some good tips there.
Any other questions or comments? Or if not, I'd like to thank everybody who came. I would like to thank Diana and Papia and Analia, who's always so good at documenting everything we do, for doing this, and all of you for coming. I hope that we will see you in Rome, and we will certainly see you at other webinars before that. Have a good evening or rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.